seeing you and the team work with this camera and being able to crop in with no resolution loss has been incredible. I think that's something that a lot of companies or studios or freelancers or people will just say, yeah, no problem. We'll shoot it in both horizontal and vertical, but they're not using the Blackmagic. They're not shooting an open gate, and technically they are delivering that asset, but the resolution loss is
Yeah.
just it's terrible. Today, we're talking about horizontal and vertical. We get a lot of customers asking us, hey, we'd love for you to do this shoot. We say, no problem. We'd love to do it for you. We get on the pre-production call and find out, that they need vertical and horizontal, and they need the same shot. And they don't have enough time or budget to go back and have a separate day of production just to go back and grab all the frames for vertical or horizontal. Wade, you brought up the Blackmagic, and that thing's been revolutionary for us.
Yeah. And the reason why we wanted to get it was because we've shot content that's horizontal. We're asked for a vertical crop. We do that with like the Sony, for example. Looks okay, doesn't look great because we're cropping and we're losing information in the frame. And it is very clearly not necessarily framed for vertical. So a big solution that we found was switching to a camera, the Blackmagic 6K full frame. I'll pull up an example here. So here's a shoot. This is one of the first shoots we did with the Blackmagic. It was a model shoot with Whitney, and I was filming BTS on the Blackmagic. It was filming what's called open gate, so it's using the full height of the sensor. A lot of times cameras only record 16:9. This records more of a 4:3 aspect ratio. So this is a horizontal crop, 16:9. You'll see it in a lot of website header videos, commercials. But for social media, you might want a vertical crop. Now, instead of just cropping in on this image, we're able to actually use more pixels above and below to get a 9:16 crop with no resolution loss, still using the same 6K image without cropping in at all. But now we're just using the space above and below this previous shot. So we're not cropping in, same resolution, and we're almost composing for both horizontal and vertical at the same time.
That's probably one of the challenges that you deal with when composing the shot and then going to the post-production side is, when we're filming, there's so many things that you're thinking about. You're thinking about lighting, you're thinking about camera angles, camera settings, you're thinking about depth of field, and then like you're doing a bunch of stuff that you really can't control, which is like model movement, how comfortable are they on set, like, and I'm missing, 50 other variables, but there's so much happening on a shoot at one single time that to get this shot, you have to be very intentional with how you're framing it. And that sometimes you could spend an hour, I mean, we've spent together 3 or 4 hours framing a single shot that goes 5 seconds. To have to redo that, break it all down, and
Yeah.
then reset it up for vertical is just, sometimes it's within client budget, sometimes it's not. So seeing you and the team work with this camera and being able to crop in with no resolution loss has been incredible. I think that's something that a lot of companies or studios or freelancers or people will just say, yeah, no problem. We'll shoot it in both horizontal and vertical, but they're not using the Blackmagic. They're not shooting an open gate, and technically they are delivering that asset, but the resolution loss is
Yeah.
just it's terrible.
And maybe they're having like two cameras side by side, like one vertical, one horizontal or something. Paul, for on the editing side of things, maybe you can speak to how if you had to crop in on the 16:9 image for vertical versus having a little bit more freedom.
Well, one thing I was going to say was I think it's really important to recognize like knowing that we're delivering 9:16 beforehand because like you said, like it totally changes how he frames this shot because that real estate is nice, but if we're not able to actually frame it to where we can use it later on, like it's basically, minute.
Yeah.
Because like if we are doing a 16:9 deliverable and then they've kind of added on later, then you'll be able to see like it doesn't, that 9:16 crop will feel like it's not like natural. Like it's not meant for 9x16.
Something feels off about it.
And I definitely think I feel that in the edit when, you know, we'll be making a video and then the client will say, oh, can we just do like a 9x16 as well? Like add it on. It's like, oh, okay, well, we can. It's not going to look like it was meant for 9x16. Whereas if we knew beforehand, you know, like the actual framing, you can kind of give yourself that leeway.
Yeah.
It just makes the edit so much better.
Or we might have like one that's shot for vertical and then, oh, can we get a horizontal of this? It's like,
That was a lot
man.
That's what's been great though. Having the Blackmagic is some of those last minute requests come in, and or sometimes the client will forget to even talk about aspect ratio until we're done.
Right.
And so I know we've worked that a lot and done a great job working that into pre-production. Can't start production until we know all the deliverables and how you want the stuff delivered. So if you're, you know, a client, if you're just that's listening, maybe you're someone that's looking to book a shoot with a studio, always ask what they're filming in. You know, are you guys filming in open gate? Do we have the ability to crop horizontal and vertical without resolution loss? That's the most important question is, can you deliver this without resolution loss? That is, I think, one of the key things. Another reason I think that's good to point out, this is more on like the post-production side, but a reason you would want to film in open gate on this camera specifically and take time framing both these shots is it allows you to build in negative space, you know, on top, on the sides that are great for call out areas, for graphics, call to actions. Because at the end of the day, this stuff looks fantastic, but it's actually going out into the wild and being used as an ad.
And especially for 9x16, like not only are you trying to leave room for graphics, but you also have to leave room for the UI, like layout of Instagram, Facebook. Like there's actual parts that you can't control that are just going to cover your image that you have to kind of plan for.
Sure.
That's a great point, Paul. It's something that like I have to try and be mindful of all the time with shooting is like, okay, you know, try not to put important things on the bottom of the frame, especially because that's where a lot of the UI is for Instagram or TikTok or something. But this is a great example where like using that negative space that we get from being able to, again, like if we cropped in, like I'll just do it right now on my phone. Oh, I can't because you can, but like if we had to crop in on this 16:9 image, we would have a lot less space on the top and bottom for the UI elements versus, again, having that extra real estate from the open gate for those UI elements can help a lot with social.
And it's a tough thing. Like if you're not thinking about it, or if you don't have some sort of like overlay you can put on while you're editing, like you're never really going to know or remember off the top of your head, like how far down Instagram's like header is or how far up. So,
well, that's one thing. Let's talk about that because Instagram the last 6 months feels like they're adjusting their aspect ratios
changing
on a weekly, bi-weekly basis.
Sometimes they'll like be the super like widescreen trend or whatever.
Yeah. And you know, they have like either the profile stuff down below or like the sponsored thing up above. And there's some really important things in shots that can get covered up by, you know, Instagram's stuff.
Yeah.
So having this stuff backed up on an SSD or, you know, a hard drive is great because then you can kind of go and, I don't know, I'm assuming you could go and rework the image or the video to pull things up or down.
Mm-hmm.
And it also changes based on how you're viewing it. Like if you're viewing it in your feed, it'll look a certain way. If you're viewing it in Reels, when you like click on it, it looks a certain way. So like, I wouldn't blame a client for like being like, oh, can you just crop it 9:16 afterwards? Like in theory, like it makes sense. I'll just crop it. But then like once you get into it, it's like, oh, okay, there's all these factors that you otherwise probably didn't think about.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, this one I feel like is a pretty quick topic.
Yeah.
Just ask for 9:16, 4:5, 5:3, 9, whatever it is, whatever aspect ratio you need for deliverable. Make sure you're asking for that in the pre-production and make sure the studio videographer, freelancer is able to deliver that without resolution loss. And it's something that you're adding to that because it's hell trying to figure this stuff out after everything's been shot and very expensive.
Yeah, just being mindful of right from the beginning, is this for social? Is this for a website? Is it a commercial? What is the delivery platform? And just knowing if you need both or not. Sometimes it's very beneficial to have both. And just, again, like so many times we've had situations where we make this great horizontal piece and then it's like, oh, can you crop it? It's like, we could, if we had known in advance. But again, like that's the great thing about the Blackmagic is, in a lot of times it helps future proof us.
Yeah.
If even if we don't plan on cropping for vertical for social, if we still shoot it on the camera with open gate, having that flexibility to be like, okay, we can give you that vertical crop because we deliberately planned for that potentiality.